Hey, welcome to 40 La Riviere. We're here again to talk about another big narcotic seizure that our narco and intel unit took part in. It was a months-long investigation into narcotics trafficking that resulted in 3 arrests and the recovery of 18 pounds of methamphetamine, which you can see here on the table. More than 30 ounces of cocaine, 10 grams of fentanyl, a Springfield Arms Company 40 caliber pistol loaded with a large capacity magazine, approximately 12 grand in U.S. currency, and numerous scales and packaging materials. In this particular case, Deputy Matt Albanese received and acted upon a complaint regarding suspicious narcotics activity at 28 West Cleveland Drive in the city of Buffalo. Thereafter, extensive surveillance was conducted, and as a result of the surveillance, detectives became interested in a second address located at 130 Spring Meadow Drive in the village of Williamsville. They also became interested in a 2018 Mercedes SUV. Detectives were able to identify 3 people of interest, identified as 39-year-old Antoine Young, 37-year-old Jazan Brown, and 43-year-old Jamaica Johnson. The case was heavy on surveillance, and detectives were able to obtain search warrants from the Honorable Judge Ken Case and the Honorable Judge Pat Carney for both of the previously mentioned addresses, the 2018 Mercedes SUV, and for 2 of the 3 targets. Our success in this investigation could be attributed to good old-fashioned police work and the excellent support and assistance we received from the DA's office, from the DEA, and from the Buffalo Intelligence Unit. I'd like to thank everyone for their hard work and professionalism in bringing this case to a successful conclusion. And with that, I'll turn it over to Sheriff Garcia for some comments.
Thank you, Under Sheriff, and welcome DA John Flynn, a great partner of us, and Senior Investigator Sean Hedinger. This doesn't happen without working with our federal and local partners. This doesn't happen without our public reaching out and giving us some information, some complaints. But as you see here, we've been here before with fentanyl, with heroin, with cocaine. It would be a lot more difficult for the community here in Erie County if we now have to deal with methamphetamine. Some of the ingredients for methamphetamine are dangerous in itself, you know. And I just printed out some just to remind me: acetone, brake cleaner, brake fluid, drain cleaners, pool acid, among several others. And on top of it, you have fentanyl being sprinkled in. We will continue to go after those that are peddling poison in our community. And I'm asked many times by the public and others, why do we see this, not uptick, but the surge in drug dealing and these car thefts and so forth? And my answer is that people are not being held accountable. There's no repercussions for their actions. We will continue to do the investigations, to do our surveillance, our due diligence, and working with our federal, state, and local partners to get this poison off the streets, to get the drug dealers to answer for putting this poison out to the community. But we need some common sense legislation in Albany, and let the judges put it back in the hands of the judges to turn back this bail reform that's putting dangerous criminals back on the street immediately. I'm going to turn it over to our great partner in law enforcement, the Honorable John Flynn.
Well, thank you, Sheriff. And you use the words, Sheriff, that this doesn't happen without et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And let me just say that this doesn't happen without a great Erie County Sheriff. This is what happens when you have a sheriff who was a former detective in the Buffalo Police Department. This doesn't happen unless you have a deputy sheriff who was a homicide detective in the Buffalo Police Department. You know, this doesn't happen unless you have people like Chief Brian Brisolero, who again came from the Buffalo Police Department. These are all street cops. These are individuals, along with their team now, who are also street cops that are out there fighting for our community. And again, that's what happens when you elect good people, and then that good person then brings in other good people for their team. And this is a result, and many more, many other press conferences that we've had here shows that the Erie County Sheriff's Department is serious about cracking down on illegal drugs in our community. And it also shows that there are individuals out there who are willing to poison our community. We have, over the course of the past 5 or 6 years, across not only this state, but across this country, a mindset of a failed war on drugs. That the answer to a failed war on drugs is to legalize everything. The legalization of marijuana has been done pretty much all across the country now. Oregon, in the past few years, has legalized small amounts of narcotics, and their experiment in Oregon, legalizing small amounts of narcotics, is an absolute failure, complete failure. And we need to recognize, while there are individuals who need help, there is a space for helping people who are addicted to fentanyl, who are addicted to cocaine, who are addicted to all forms of drugs. We can help those people out and get them the treatment that they need. There's a space for that. But there's also a space for people who are selling it in jail. We've got spaces for you in jail for people who are selling it, who are selling this poison. And the sheriff mentioned an added factor now in our war on drugs. Meth has been around, obviously, for years and years. Meth has been a problem all across this country, especially in the rural areas of this country and in our community for years and years. But in our opioid crisis that we've been seeing, not only here in Erie County, but across the country over the course of the past 5 and 6 years, what we started with was heroin. Then we saw fentanyl being mixed with heroin. And then over the course of the past couple years, we saw the increase in cocaine being mixed with fentanyl. And now we have meth. We have meth now being mixed with fentanyl. And that is attributing to a dramatic increase in the number of overdose deaths, not only in Erie County, but again, across the country. And so we have a new problem. Again, I say new problem with quotation marks because obviously meth has been around forever, but we have a new factor in methamphetamines and meth being mixed with fentanyl. And this is a problem. And it's going to continue to be a problem unless we get the individuals who are selling this off the streets and in jail. And so this bust is the first step. We have 3 individuals now who have been arraigned. And again, they are innocent until proven guilty. These are just allegations, obviously. I'm not saying that they deserve to be in jail because, again, they are innocent until proven guilty. But we have 39-year-old Antoine Young, 37-year-old Jazam Brown are facing 2 counts of criminal possession of controlled substance to second degree. That's a Class A2 felony. 1 count of criminal possession of controlled substance to third degree, a Class B felony. 1 count of criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree, a Class C violent felony. And 2 counts of criminally using drug paraphernalia. They were arraigned on that in Buffalo City Court today, this morning. In addition to that, Antoine Young was also charged along with 43-year-old Jamaica Johnson with 1 count of criminal possession of controlled substance in the first degree, again, a Class A1 felony, 2 counts of criminal possession of controlled substance in the third degree, Class B felonies, 1 count of criminal possession of controlled substance in the fourth degree, C felonies, 2 counts criminal possession of controlled substance in the seventh degree, and 2 counts of using drug paraphernalia in the second degree. Those are all Class A misdemeanors. Young and Johnson were arraigned this morning in Amherst Town Court. Young was held on bail, remanded, and Brown and Johnson were given bail. I'm not sure if they're out yet, but they were given bail. Young obviously is facing the more serious charges. That is why he is being held. Again, we asked for remand on all 3, but like I said, the judge gave Brown and Johnson bail, and we'll see if they get out. But obviously, this great work by the Erie County Sheriff's Department, along with our other partners in law enforcement, led to what we have here today, and is leading to a statement being made throughout the community. While marijuana may be legalized, there may be a lot of talk out there about not taking drugs seriously and we're going to help everybody. That narrative is not true. The narrative is going to be that, yes, we're going to help people out who deserve help and who need help, but we are going to take this seriously. We're going to take selling drugs seriously. And again, our goal is to get them off the streets, because that's the only way that we're going to stop this poison from being on our streets. And again, we have all of our law enforcement partners to thank for that, but today, I especially want to thank the great Erie County Sheriff, John Garcia. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone?
Yeah, with methamphetamine, you're potentially talking about cooking labs, and as you're saying, I mean, we traditionally don't hear about that in the city, in urban areas. So, as the district attorney said, you got a new element you're dealing with here. Meth itself, how unusual is that to see that on the streets of Buffalo, really?
Very unusual, Ron. You know, over the couple last decades, we see in Erie County, especially in the city of Buffalo and surrounding suburban areas, you know, there's availability for narcotics. You could buy heroin, you could buy cocaine, you could buy crack, and so on, pills. In the rural areas, you don't have that. So the methamphetamine that we see here is unusual, 15 pounds. Now, the danger comes with not only, obviously, people smoking and snorting the meth, the customers, but the danger that you just made mention of, which is the labs. In the 10-plus years I was in the City of Buffalo Narcotics Squad, I saw 2 meth labs, and we had a team come in from Pennsylvania to clean it up, and very, very dangerous. You know, the explosion, the fumes, you know, the neighborhood, the city of Buffalo, I mean, houses are on top of each other. So this is new for us, but we are going to, you know, with our narcotics squad and meet with our partners and see, you know, if this is a trend that's going to be seen more often than not, or this is something that was going to be purchased and then sold to another dealer. But it's a problem, and something that we're not talking about right here on this table is obviously that the drug dealers have the illegal handguns to protect their business. So it was, again, we normally don't talk about this, but the way this drug dealer was taken off the streets safely by the Erie County Sheriff's Office and its local and federal partners, it could have gone sideways, as we, mentioned with the last case that we had in Grand Island where the individual had 5 guns that time. So great job by the men and women of narcotics here in the Erie County Sheriff's Office and our partners. And again, we will continue going after the drug dealers. Like DA Flynn said, the people that need help, we will get them help. One of the negative results, and I've said it before with bail reform, is the drug addicts that get arrested, the only time they get any kind of service, any kind of medical assistance, is when they are being held in a correctional facility.
Speaking of bail reform, do you consistently see those who you arrest and then release commit more crimes, or do you hope that those who aren't committing crimes see them actually not being released and use that as a deterrent?
Well, I think when there's no repercussions and you're not being held accountable, you're going to keep on doing what you're doing. I mean, this is a business here. You got $12,000, you have, crack, you have cocaine, you have meth, you have a handgun. This is a businessman that's protecting, allegedly protecting, his business and so forth. You're going to see more crime. With the hundreds upon hundreds of car thefts, 6, 10 by one individual alone, they're let out, they're going to do it again. The break-ins, the car break-ins, 10, 20 break-ins by one person in a neighborhood. They're let out, they're going to do it again. There's no accountability. So why would you change your pattern?
So, this is a little bit off the topic, but since the sheriff mentioned it, I just recently put a second assistant district attorney on my car theft detail. So I always had one ADA in my office who was my car theft person. The actual genesis of that, though, came from insurance fraud a number of years ago, and that was how the grant initially got started. Over the years, that ADA has morphed into handling more run-of-the-mill car thefts that are not related to insurance fraud. They're straight-up car thefts. The number of car thefts that have occurred in Erie County it's up over 1,000%. So I've now put a second lawyer in my office just on car theft, and we are seeing more and more of the individuals who are stealing cars who are getting let out and who are going right back and stealing more cars. I have more and more repeat offenders on car theft cases than I've ever had. Now, obviously, the individuals who get caught for drugs, unless they get treatment or help, like the sheriff said, they're going to go right back out there and do it again. So it is a revolving door on all aspects of especially minor offenses. Again, piggyback on what the sheriff said, our numbers in diversion court over the course of the past 3 years, now again, we've had COVID obviously, so that skews stats, but our numbers in our diversion courts are down dramatically. No one is getting help because everyone is getting let out. Our opioid court, which we've started here in Buffalo, the first ever opioid court in this country in 2017, we were getting a year, 150, 200 clients every year. How many do you think we got now in our opioid court? 12. 12 in our opioid court. That's because there's no consequences. There's no hammer hanging over people's heads. And again, I hate to sound like a hammer, but sometimes you need a hammer hanging over people's heads in order to get them a treatment and the help that they need. And they're just not getting that now. So again, I think that what the sheriff alluded to here is spot on. That we need to ensure that people are not repeat offenders. And again, to be fair, there is a way under the bail laws to get repeat offenders in on bail, even with non-qualifying offenses. So, and that's quite frankly one of the main reasons why I only want 1 or 2 people handling all my car theft cases, because they know the different players, and they know if this person's a repeat offender, they can now go back to the original court and ask for bail. So that's one of the reasons why I want it consolidated in my car thefts. And I already have that in my narcotics. My narcotics bureau, I have 4 lawyers in there who do nothing but narcotics. So they know the players, and they know if they have a repeat offender, they can now go back and ask bail on the original case.
Any indication of labs with that methamphetamine? You mentioned a Williamsville address. Kind of makes people, raises it up a notch again.
Yeah, last week we were talking about Grand Island, and this week, Ron, we're talking about Amherst, Buffalo, and Cheektowaga. So it's everywhere in Erie County. As far as your question regarding the labs, we're going to continue our investigation and see where it leads us. But we have, as of right now, no indication that there's any labs that are functioning in Erie County. But with that being said, we will continue our investigation. And just to touch on Mr. Flynn's comments about the opiate court and so forth, we have over 200 people in the medication-assisted treatment program in our jail management division, meaning in our Erie County Holding Center, in our Erie County Correctional Facility. 200 people that are being treated with Suboxone or methadone and counseling. 200 people out of 800. So there's a major problem, but if they don't come into our custody, then we cannot help them. I know it sounds completely wrong, but it goes to show you that there's no services on the outside, but we do have it. Unfortunately, it comes with a cost to the taxpayers. We were just going through the budget, $2.5 million in a medication-assisted treatment program that's going to be in our new budget. The governor has allocated $11 million to the counties, thank God. It's going to be spread out throughout the 62 counties, and hopefully Erie County will get a large chunk because we have such a large population. And but those are the negative consequences of bail reform.
When it comes to meth, you said that it's very rare that you see it in the city of Buffalo. I mean, it's prevalent in most areas, but here, and we all know about the dangers of fentanyl with cocaine and other drugs that it's mixed with. I mean, what do we know about the mixture of fentanyl and methamphetamines right now? Is it similar to the cocaine, or is it just something that you're only just starting to learn about?
So, we were talking about heroin, and Mr. Flynn was talking about cocaine now being cut with fentanyl. So as these two drugs were, dangerous enough, methamphetamine, some of the ingredients I mentioned, do you really need to add fentanyl? But that goes to show the greed of the drug dealers, right? They don't care about the customer whatsoever. They have 15 pounds of meth that could be snorted or injected, or so it's a new drug that we see now. Now, what's the trend going to be? We will stay on it. We will further investigate to see if there's any labs or in Erie County or the adjoining counties, and reach out to our fellow law enforcement agencies in the other counties. But we have enough problems with fentanyl and the 420 overdose deaths that we had last year. To bring this new dangerous drug that you have brake fluid and you have pool acid and all the other ingredients that I mentioned, and now you have fentanyl. Do I have to tell people that now their meth is not safe? I think they should know that, but this is where we're headed.
Which is this the methamphetamine right here?
Yes,
Right here. So you got 15 pounds of it. You can grab it if you want, Ron, and just see the weight here. I mean, this is significant, 15 pounds. And like I said, I've come across 2 labs in my lifetime, and looking back, we didn't know the danger we were in. Some of the rural, law enforcement agencies, they train more in that. My biggest fear always was being overcome with heroin and fentanyl. But, this is a new drug here that we see in Erie County.
It's a hazmat, right? It's a hazmat scene technically when you find one.
The hazmat teams came in from Pennsylvania, and they were, from head to toe covered up, and they knew what they were doing, and it came with a cost to the law enforcement agency, but thank God we had them, and they came in. And the dangers to the neighbors, because these are not chemists that are putting all this together, right? So all of a sudden, a fire begins, and one of the places was actually right near Hutch Tech.
You mentioned, or the undersheriff mentioned how this investigation kind of started as a complaint.
Yes.
How should people, if they suspect something, contact you, and does that happen a lot?
It does happen a lot, to answer your question. It does happen a lot. We get a lot of complaints from our public, which they remain anonymous, and that's important for people to know. It's an anonymous complaint. We follow through with every investigation. Starts with a complaint or cooperation from somebody, and they should call our tip number, tip hotline, or they should call Buffalo Police, Chief DeWaga, whomever it is. We all work together, so that's the important part.
Bernie, how did this arrest happen? Did it happen at the home? Did it happen on the road like the one in Grand Island? What transpired
Understood.
during the actual arrest?
So, as I understand it, 2 of the targets were pulled over in a car stop, correct? And then thereafter, the search warrants were conducted of both residences. And then the 3rd suspect was picked up after the conclusion of the search warrants.
Were any of the individuals past offenders that went through the court system before?
I can't answer that because, like, again, it's as I say all the time, you know, it's unethical for me to bring up any kind of past criminal history. So, unfortunately, I can't answer that.
Going back to the press conference last week and this one, there's a trend that is, when you're apprehending these individuals, it's more so of kind of surveilling and seeing them kind of leave their residence and then kind of going through that. Is that a common practice where, you know, you have the search warrant ready, you have everything there, and then when they leave the residence, you kind of pull them over, conduct the search and everything like that?
Our investigators do a great job, and safety first. Safety for everyone involved, from the suspects, the public, and law enforcement. In the last 2, you're correct. They determined that it was best to do a car stop and make the arrest there, and then execute the search warrant. You know, you have a gun here. In the last one, we had 5 guns. And so if we could get somebody out of a residential neighborhood, yes, we'll do that.
Where did it happen? Was the pullover?
So, yeah, on Worley Drive.
Whirly Drive?
In Amherst?
Anything else? I don't think we're good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.